In fact, I've got 6 years of it, and I did it quite extensively in my last position. For example, and then you go into a specific example with a quantifiable result. Now, time I gave an answer as a candidate, then I asked a question because I want it to be a two-way conversation, an exploratory conversation where I'm building my expertise without just listing, here's the question, here's the answer, here's the question, here's the answer. It really is a dialogue, and it really builds a connection. Now, what I recommend you do is listen to the recording of this dialogue, because I'm going to give you a link after we end this call. I'll give you a link to listen to the recording. I want you to listen to it several times and notice exactly what's going on. It's not the kind of interview dialogue you hear very often. However, what's happening is very simple, and it's obvious that I've put myself in the role of the expert, and being an expert is really important. I answer the employer's questions very succinctly, but with quantifiable results. And then I ask non-threatening questions to find out the person's situation regarding their marketing. So it's a marketing conversation as I'm marketing my expertise, but I never push and I never sell myself openly, and I don't manipulate. And what I've noticed is that when you have dialogues like this, employers inevitably ask for more information, and it's not because they have a list of questions in front of them. It's because they're genuinely curious about what you've done and what type of results you've gotten. That's the turning point in the conversation. And without pushing and by talking about the results, you keep the conversation going, and then interest develops. Okay? So that's basically, I'm getting it down to where I've got some time for questions. I want to break down this part of the conversation into the basic components. Number one, you're going to answer questions briefly, but in an outcome-oriented way in as much as possible. If you're grounded in your core marketing message, your one big thing, then this is a lot easier to do. Remember, ultimately, you are marketing and selling outcomes, not your past job descriptions. Number two, you ask a question after you answer. Now, this is a little trickier, and as I said, it's easy to go on and not know where to stop. Think about punctuation. A sentence ends with a period. The period is the question that you ask in return, and the question doesn't need to be heavy-handed. Just find out more about their situation and connect it to your question. And number three, talk, don't sell. Resist the temptation to launch into a traditional pitch or a come on. For one, it doesn't work. And secondly, it marks you as a salesy type of person, even if you're not in sales. Third, it's more uncomfortable for you to do. If there really is a real connection here, then there's the possibility that this conversation could go somewhere. And maybe this person needs your expertise. Perhaps they know someone else who does if they don't. And again, this is any kind of conversation you're having, whether it be an interview or a networking conversation. If there's a connection there, they will usually indicate it. They'll usually indicate their interest by asking for more information. And then number four, familiarity to information. And what I mean by that is what you're doing in this conversation so far is building familiarity. That's all. You're not selling. The next natural step is to provide information, and it shows an increased level of interest on the part of the employer or the networking prospect. They aren't saying, I want to hire you right now. Usually they're saying, I'm open to knowing more about you. And when that happens, you transition to the next part of the marketing conversation, which is the call to action, which is what I'll talk about next time. So before I give a main summary, I just want to make sure your notes are complete, so I'll summarize everything. But the 8 spots that I have available, it is the Resume Reboot class happening on June 7th. To get there, to register, go to my website, which is careerresumeconsulting.com, and look at the events and calendar page, and you'll find June 7th on there, and it'll take you to the registration page. And I also have one more client spot available this month before I leave. I'm leaving for San Francisco at the end of the month, actually first week of June. So if you're interested in talking with me about my services, you can give me a call. You can call my office at 800-600-2478, or you can reply to any one of the messages that you've gotten from me. It's Tammy, Tammy, at beyondjobsearching.com, and we can schedule some time to talk about your career situation. That initial consultation is complimentary. There's no charge for that. So let's very quickly summarize the 5 points, and then I'll take some questions. And if you want, I would be happy to work with an audio business card, especially if you've got an interview coming up pretty soon. So I'll give you a brief overview of the 5 parts of the marketing conversation and the work that you need to do to increase your proficiency in all those areas. And one thing is true of this marketing principle more than any other: it needs practice. If you just read it and listen to it, it will have zero impact. And you ask any of my clients, their first audio business card stinks, but you have to work on it, and pretty soon you sound like a rock star. So the first one is audio business card. You can use the audio business card anytime in a marketing conversation. It doesn't have to come first, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So craft your message the best you can, and then go out there and try it. And if people seem to get it and it garners some attention, then stick to it. It's not the most important part of the marketing conversation. Remember, it's the listening part that is. But you use it as a jumping-off point to ask the prospect some questions. So you can use this ABC anytime anyone asks you what you do. So if you're out there meeting people, you'll have lots of opportunities to use it. Notice that a constant stream of employers are not knocking at your door, most likely. You need intentionally to get out there and connect with people. Also, remember that it's a great starting point for any marketing conversation. It makes very clear who you work with and the issues and the challenges that you address in your expertise. It's not pushy or salesy, but it can make somebody stand back and go, wow. And if you can master that audio business card and use it, try it with 10 or 20 people a week, and you'll really notice a change in your job search, seriously. Worst case, you'll discover that it doesn't work, and you'll have to go back and change it. But then the next piece is asking questions and listening. I want to reiterate this is the most important element of any marketing conversation. The best people that are in sales literally listen you into doing business with them, if you've ever noticed that. Everyone knows how to ask questions, but most people could study the art of listening, active listening. To do it, you need to let go of any agenda. You need to be as open as you possibly can and pretend you're Barbara Walters or Charlie Rose interviewing somebody. You ask the penetrating questions, and you really want to know the answers. And when you're done, the person feels like they've received the gift of your attention, and that's a very rare thing. And remember, the best questions in these situations are open-ended, okay? You don't want to use the manipulative questions like, if your business keeps going that way, you're really going to need marketing help, aren't you? You don't want that. You can replace that with, I know marketing can really be a challenge. Where are some of the areas that you'd like to do better? And that will tend to open up that conversation. And make a long list of those questions. Organize and prioritize those. Get some practice in. Use them in marketing conversations. Remember, if you're doing most of the talking, you're in selling mode, not marketing mode. And if you sell too soon, you're out of the game, okay? So to wrap up, marketing conversations can be the most important marketing skill you can learn. Conversations control the whole personal marketing process. So if you know what to say and when to say it, you can really produce extraordinary results, both in networking and in interviewing. So learn those principles and practice those skills, and then get out there and use them in real-life marketing situations. And that's what I have for you today. So now I'd like to take some questions. Let's take a look at, we've got a long list of people online. Is there anybody, if you want to press *2, is there anybody that has a question on the phone? Just press *2. No one on the phone? There's a lot of you out there. Well, I apologize if I miss anybody. Does anybody have a question regarding if you are online? I do have one question that came up. So if you're online and you have a question, I want you to type it in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. So let me take a look here. Kenny from Jersey City, New Jersey. Hi, East Coast. I like you mentioned unrealistic expectations when approaching prospective employers with an audio business card statement during the webinar. What can I do to align my expectations or pitch with, quote, employer reality? Well, I guess what I meant by unrealistic expectations was that you assume that they're going to want to hire you on the spot. I think if you've got specific stories that back up your expertise, then you can be as bold as you want on that expertise. If, for instance, I was talking about that one gentleman that got a job pretty much on the spot after he used his great audio business card. Well, his audio business card was that he turned around hemorrhaging operations. He was an expert in turning around underperforming operations. He had done it several times, I think 4 or 5 times in the last 5 years, and had had some amazing results. So his expertise was turning around underperforming operations. He had also started a lot of operations from scratch. And that also really enticed the person across the desk from him. And so he got the job basically because he framed himself as an expert in turning around underperforming operations. And the guy that hired him owned a healthcare company that was underperforming at the time. And he hired him specifically to turn it around. So as long as you have the stories with the specific results that you can quantify to back those up, you can be as rock star as you want. Any other questions out there? And we've got another one online. What's a good ABC for a director of ops? And that's coming from Stephen in Overland Park. Well, director of operations, usually what COOs or even owners are looking for in heading up their operations are people that can streamline processes, that can lead people and make people want to follow them, and that they've saved companies money. Usually like a director of business development will make a company money. A director of operations, generally speaking, will save a company money. I can't really say what your ABC would be until I talked with you. So if you want to talk with me, you can give me a call. Again, my number is 816-600-2478. But really, director of operations, what most employers are looking for operations leaders are people who can lead people, who have a strong record of leading people, and then also of streamlining processes to save money, and projects too as well, and sometimes vendor management. Any other questions online? Anybody want to type anything in? And it looks like we've got a question. I'm going to unmute you. Hi there, and this is caller ending in 5114. Do you have a question?
Hi, Tammy. It's Gary Truster-Steffen.
Hi.
Hello. I have a quick question for you. Going to the job fairs, you have that short opportunity to talk to different companies, and yeah. I talk to a lot of headhunters as well.
Yeah.
Would the audio business card be a great way to follow up with the resume and remind that person as to what my specialty and expertise and what I'm looking for?
Very good question.
Writing back.
We just had in Kansas City, we had a couple of pretty big job fairs coming this last week. And so do you think that you were memorable the first time that you saw them? Do you think that they remember you out of the sea of people that they saw that day?
I think so, but it's hard to say because there were so many people and the time was pretty short. Yeah.
I've had people use that audio business card in writing. So if you're following up by email, or even if you want to follow up by a phone call or a voicemail, you can, I think absolutely you can say, I'm just following up and you've got my resume, just give you a brief background of what you've done, and then this is my expertise, and I'd love to talk with you. Again, there's that call to action piece of it, and I would love for you to give me a call. I'd love to talk to you about joining your team. And if it's a headhunter or a recruiter, I'd love to talk about any opportunity you might have with one of your contracted companies. And absolutely give that, because that's your expertise. And you can very quickly let them know what that expertise is and what problems you solve, And if a headhunter has a contract looking for somebody like that, then you're the guy, and they're going to give you a call back. Yeah, I think that's a great question. Very good question.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
That really helps you stand out, I think, from having them, take the time to look at your resume. They're probably more likely to read it if they have that. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you email it, if you have their email address, if you took their card and you have their direct email address, then you can email an electronic copy of your resume along with just a brief version of your audio business card.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, when I write resumes for clients, one of the first things I have them do is, hey, you've got to get it out to all of your contact list. And having that audio business card explains to people what you've done. So here's what I'm looking for. Here's the industry that I'm looking for, the size company I'm looking for, and this is the problem that I fill. The cool thing about that is it's better than just saying I'm looking for an XYZ manager position, or a director of operations position, where then they're thinking, do I know somebody who has a director of operations position open? And if they don't, then they stop thinking about how they can help you. But if you say, this is the problem I solve, especially if you can tie that problem into an underperforming company in this environment, in this economic environment, a lot of people know underperforming companies in this economic environment. So that's perfect. So you can do it definitely by email as well. Yeah.
Great.
Did that answer your question? Yeah. Yep. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Thanks. Does anybody else have a question? All right. I'm going to check one more time because we're at about 4 minutes after the top of the hour, so I want to be very cognizant of respectful of your time. Oh, we have one more. Let's take one more question then. And actually, same person. Did you have another question, or did I just not lower your hand? Guess I didn't lower the hand. Never mind. Okay. All right. That is it then. I really thank you very much for giving me an hour of your time. I know that time is the most precious gift that we have. So I appreciate that you spent an hour with me today, and I hope that you got something out of this. And we will talk next month. If you want to be a part of my in-person Resume Reboot workshop, go to my website and look at the calendar of events, and you can register from there. And otherwise, we will talk next month at the webinar. I'll give you information on that soon. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful rest of your week, guys. Bye-bye now.